Okay, so today we'll talk about another type of business organization and we call it cooperatives. In the last class, we discussed in detail, in fact, in the couple of classes, we discussed in detail about public and private limited companies and their advantages and disadvantages. This is a long chapter, that's why still I have not given you assignment number two, but I am thinking over it. So sooner or later, I will assign you one and then you will be submitting it to me so that I can see how you write answers because attending class is something else and writing answers is entirely different. So, and you know that in your CAE exam, writing answers is extremely important rather than just attending the classes. Obviously, you will get marks when you will write answers. And if they are according to the requirement of the examiner, you will be able to get the grade you want. All right, so cooperatives. Now, you need to understand this is a type of business organization where people they join hands by investing capital in a business, right? And they share responsibilities as well. Now, how it is different from other types of business organization, we'll talk about it. As you can see that the name is cooperatives, right? So here, people who think that they are not able to um, run that organization independently, so they join hands with other people. Okay, and this the purpose of cooperative is to provide benefit to its members. Remember, and who are the members? Members are the owners of the business. I repeat, cooperatives are such organizations which actually are formed to provide benefit to its members. Now, what kind of benefit and how they will benefit their members? So let's discuss it. In this type of business organization, all members share the work. So it means all members have their area of responsibility. Okay, so you can say that this becomes easier as well to manage a relatively large business because now there are many owners and they will be having their own area of specialization or the area which they think it's easier to handle or it matches with the skill they have. Okay, but again, the people who actually manage the business, they are not the expert people. They are the ordinary people, but they just share their capital, resources, and effort. Okay, to achieve a certain target, and that is to get the benefit out of it. Now, that benefit is not actually the profit which is earned by the business. I'll explain you what kind of benefit as an owner of the cooperative one can have. Now, so all members share the work. That is very clear. It means that there are no board of directors who are actually there to control and manage the business. Owners are there and they themselves control and manage the business. This is one characteristic of cooperatives. Second is one voting right. Now, again, it is different from limited company. As I told you, in limited companies, what happens that voting power depends on the number of shares held by a shareholder. Like for example, if there are 10,000 shares issued by the company, and out of 10,000, let's say 5,000 shares are bought by one shareholder, so that person will be having a voting power equal to 50% of the shareholders. Imagine. So, in limited company, voting power depends upon the number of shares held by the business or the percentage of the total capital which was invested by a particular person. But in that case, in case of cooperatives, it's not the case. So it doesn't matter how much you invest in the business, and in this case, cooperatives, you will have only one voting right. Now, what does it mean? It means you do not have any voting power. You will have the same voting power which other people may have, and they may not have invested the same amount in the business. So it means amount of investment does not increase the voting power of the owners. And in this case, we call owners members. So all have one voting right. So you can imagine now that people who want to invest more so that they can have more voting power, they will not like to invest in a cooperative. You can understand that. So it means people who have sufficient amount of finance, they would like to buy shares of limited companies rather than choosing cooperatives, right? So this is actually for those people who do not have great amount of finance, and they think that if all the people they of the same status, if they join their capital, if they share their resources, so it will be easier to form a relatively large business which they cannot set up alone. So one voting right is there for, obviously, only those people will be interested who think that it's fine if we have one voting right because we do not have the capacity to form one alone. Then we have the third point, the third characteristic, profits are shared equally. I'm saying generally that again, normally you know that in limited companies or even in partnership as well, the share of profit completely depends on the amount of investment made by a person or persons. Like for example, if you have invested 10% of the total capital of the business, what would be your share of profit? 10%. Whatever profit that will be earned by the business, you will get 10% of it, right? Similarly, if dividends were declared by the company, you know that dividends are the portion of the profit which is distributed among the shareholders. So if dividends are declared by the company, again, they will be divided among the shareholders according to their investment, or again the number of shares held by them. Here it's not the case again. The profits will be shared equally. So again, there is a justification that people who have sufficient amount of money, they will not like to invest in a cooperative because they won't like it to happen that they invest more but they get the same share of profit which others are getting, despite the fact that their share of investment is quite low compared to them. So again, it means that there are certain people who would like to invest in this cooperative who think in a common way, and that is, let's get a mutual benefit out of it, because that benefit we cannot enjoy alone because we do not have the capacity or the resources to form such a business. Okay, I'll talk about it, how it functions and how it gives the benefit to the members. Right now we are just discussing the characteristics of a cooperative. Then, okay, there can be many types of cooperatives: worker cooperative, producer cooperative. Now let's discuss it. I'll give you an example that how cooperative gives benefit to its members. Let's say there is a factory which is suffering losses and it has been at a loss uh, for quite a time. Now the owners of the business, they are planning to close it down, right? They think that maybe it's not worthwhile to continue it because the losses are getting bigger, okay, or they are not able to sustain or bear those losses. Now in that case, they might like to close it down or sell it to somebody else. Obviously nobody bothers to buy a loss making business, you know that. Now what will happen if the business will be closed down? The workers will be unemployed, you know that. So all the workers in that business, they decide, they make an agreement, let's buy the business. Which business? Where they work actually, where they are the employees. So they decide, let's buy the business, and obviously they, okay, pool up their resources, especially capital, the amount of finance which is required, and obviously that amount would not be that much huge because the business is already at a loss, and their intention was to close down. I'm talking about the original owners or the board of directors or whatever, right? So now if they think that they can get some money from the workers, so obviously they will like to sell it. So in that way, what will happen? The business will be bought by the workers, and workers will become the members of that business. Now workers are the owners and they are working there as well. So they have their own responsibility. That is why I told you earlier that if you see point number one, all members share the work. So that is why now workers are the members and they share the work, they share the responsibilities. So now what is the benefit? The benefit is now they won't lose their jobs. Now the point is, sir, what is the point of buying a loss making business? Because now workers will pay from their own pocket? No. Remember, it's not about the loss only. Because the owners want to get the profit. If still that business is good enough to give them their salary, they will be pretty much happy. Even if there is no profit earned, workers will get the benefit, and that benefit is their job security, right? Because still they will be getting their salary. Okay, and maybe who knows that maybe after some time they may start getting profit as well. Okay, but the owners who left that business, they thought the opposite way, that okay, we cannot survive now, and even we cannot wait for a couple of months or maybe a year. Okay, because obviously it is not possible to bear the loss of the business. But now because the workers become the owner, so if they are not getting profit, still they are getting the salary, so they will be happy continuing that business. But there is a problem. Problem is workers are not the experts who run the business. Okay, they do not know how to manage the business effectively. So it may happen that business may further go into loss. Okay, or if the profit was very small at that point, it may further go down because of lack of expertise, because workers just know how to do their own job, which they have been doing for many years. But running a business or to lead a business is entirely different. For that you require certain different skills, leadership skills. So for because of lack of expertise, cooperatives may close down as well because of that reason. Similarly, if I talk about producer cooperative, so it is also possible. Like, for example, you are a producer, okay, and you want raw material to produce something, okay, or you are a farmer and you want seeds, fertilizers, tractors, threshers, and other equipment which is required for farming. So, because farmers are poor, so they think that they cannot buy those items because they are very expensive, or high quality seeds are expensive. Latest and updated technology is very expensive, right? So what do they do? They form a cooperative, and what do we call it? Producer cooperative. All farmers, they pool up their resources, right? So now they buy all the equipment, all the seeds, all the technology in bulk. Okay, and all because now it's a big business. So when they buy in bulk, they usually get a discount from the supplier. So they get the goods cheaply, be it seeds, fertilizers, tractors, threshers, or any other equipment which is useful for farming. So now workers will be able to, and sorry, not the workers, producers, and in that case farmers, they will be able to get the equipment cheaply. So this would be the benefit for producers cooperatives, right? So this is how it works actually. So that is why I told you earlier that cooperative, the main purpose of cooperative is to provide the benefit to its members. There can be a retail cooperative as well. Let me consumer or retailer cooperative as well. Okay. So now for the retailer you understand. Faria Khan, who is a retailer? Faria, are you there? I think Faria is not able to hear. So even Saqib is there. All right. Bilal Jamil, any idea? Who are retailers?
Sir, a business where you purchase goods from.
All right. Where you okay? Or retailer. Very good. All shops from where we are able to buy. They all shops are called retailers. Remember, and their job is just to make the goods available for the people, and they sell it. That's it. They do not produce anything. Now, if there is a retailer cooperative, so how do they get the benefit in that case? For example, if let's say there are um, retailers who think that, and there can be a wholesale cooperative as well. So similarly, retailers feel that um, it's very difficult to buy goods cheaply because they are running small shops, and whenever they buy, they have to pay a higher price for it. But as soon as they form a retailer cooperative, now it's a bigger one. All retailers join hands to form that, and now they are able to buy in bulk, right, from the manufacturer, for example. So they get discount, and in that way, all retailers they get the benefit. Now remember, if there is a retailer cooperative, let's say there is a shop there. Remember, there is a shop. If members buy from them, they will get it cheaply, okay, because they are the owners, right? But if other members of the society they visit to buy that, they have to pay the market price which is available there. So normally, if you see a shop, it won't be written it is a retailer cooperative. You will find it just an ordinary retail shop. But for its members, they will offer them a discount, or they will sell them at the same cost at which they bought from the producer, and they bought it cheaply. But if members of the society they go to buy, so that cooperative, that retailer cooperative will charge them the usual market price which is prevailing there in the market. So again, retailers they get the benefit out of it by forming the cooperative. All right. So consumer cooperative, okay, you can say this as well. Consumers can form a cooperative as well, similarly, to get the goods cheaply as well. In the United States, there is REI, Recreational Equipment Incorporated. That is a retailer cooperative. Okay. So they are able to buy the goods cheaply. Which goods? Which are recreational equipment. Okay. The tourists who want to climb mountains or to travel to those places, hilly areas. So such equipments can be bought from there. In the UK, Suma Whole Foods is their producer cooperative. I just explained you what is a producer cooperative. So examples are there, but in Pakistan there are no such examples. In fact, there are cooperative societies. I live in Wabda town, so there is Wabda Town Employees Cooperative Housing Society. Okay, there is Punjab Employees Cooperative Housing Society. There is Government Employees Cooperative Housing, and there are other as well. So cooperative societies are there. Okay, and what happens there? So when actually, if I talk about Wabda town, because it is called Wabda Employees Cooperative Housing Society, Wabda employees thought that way, let's form a cooperative, a housing cooperative, because we cannot buy a piece of land because the price is high and we are not able to afford. So let's pool up our capital and buy the whole piece of land together. So they actually bought the whole Wabda town. Okay, and they named it Wabda Town Employees Cooperative Housing Society. Okay, so now it means initially plots were given to Wabda workers who formed that cooperative society, right? And those plots were cheap. Okay, they were very cheap, right? Why again? Because they actually, for the same reason, because they bought a huge piece of land at once, so that's why they got it cheaply. So then the plots were distributed to their members, obviously, who were Wabda workers, and later on, it was up to them. Either they want to construct their own house there, or they want to sell it to somebody else. Okay, so that was the benefit which was enjoyed by Wabda workers. Now I live in Wabda town, but my father was not a Wabda worker. So how we got this piece of land? Again, some Wabda worker actually sold it to my father, right? Similarly, my neighbors, they actually now I think unfortunately he's no more there, but he was a Wabda worker. So now you understand the concept of cooperatives. But still, if you have any confusion, you can let me know because it is a different kind of a concept. Ahmed Abdullah, are you clear?
Yes, sir.
Fazan Hassan, any problem?
No, sir.
All right. Rida Yazani,
Yes, sir.
issue? Rida, any issue whatsoever as far as cooperatives are concerned?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Ramin Imran,
Sir, yeah, I cannot understand that the second last point. I mean, what?
is the concern of United States with it? And why do we create cooperatives? Like, do we have a need of it?
No, okay, all right. Okay, Ramin, actually, the example I gave, recreational equipment incorporated, that actually belongs to United States. That is the only reason I wrote United States. Similarly, I wrote UK with Suma because Suma Whole Food is a producer cooperative which operates in UK. The country of origin is UK. That's why. That is the only reason. Secondly, you said that why there is a need of it. I told you cooperatives are formed to give benefit to its members. And who are the members? Members are the true owners of those cooperatives. So why do they form cooperatives? The reason is because they cannot get the same benefit alone. They do not have the capacity, financial resources, or capital to form such a business. So all such people who have the same thinking, they join their capital or resources and they form this cooperative so that they can get the benefit. So it is not the need of the society; it is the need of certain people who form such type of business. Yes, Ramin.
In
If it
in public limited companies, sir.
No, actually, normally I told you it's not easy to buy a public limited company because it's a huge company. And I told you public limited companies have a very long life. Think about Coca-Cola. I told you earlier. It started in 1876, still going on. Think about Pepsi. It started in 1885, still going on. So they have a very long life. So there is no chance that they will be either bought by such people because when we talk about cooperatives, what kind of people buy them? Who have limited amount of money, right? And they think that okay, if all the people will get the benefit, it will be fine. So we will have a mutual benefit. That is why there is one voting right for everybody. Doesn't matter whatever you invest, a profit will be shared equally. Doesn't matter you invest. So obviously, what would be the people? The needy people who think that we cannot do it alone, so we require some other people as well. The people who are rich, who can invest in limited companies, obviously they would go for that because it won't suit them having only one voting right or if profits are shared equally. Yes, Samin?
Yes, sir, got it. Thank you.
Okay. So keep on participating and keep on telling me whenever you have a problem because you will always be welcome, every student. Huh? So you can even ask me more than once as well if you're not clear. All right. Shandre Faryal, is it okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's move on. Now we'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages of cooperatives. Let's discuss them. One, bulk buying. It's very easy, I told you. That is one of the advantage which the owners of the cooperatives they want to have. And I told you, so whenever the cooperative buys in large quantity, suppliers usually offer them discount. Okay, so because they can get rid of a large stock quickly, only one customer buys majority of the stock. So they are released from the tension of selling the stock. That is why they offer a certain discount to the cooperative who buys in bulk. So obviously it helps to reduce the cost per unit or the average cost of each product they buy. Similarly, sharing work. So again, because if the business is relatively large, so because there are many owners, many members, so each member has their own area of responsibility. So they are able to manage it well. But if they have the right amount of skills, I told you earlier. Generally, the people who actually own cooperatives, they are not the experts. Okay. So, but if they have the skills, obviously the sharing work will help. Then motivation as profit is shared. Again, so all members they put up all of their effort because they know that if they make a mistake, it will affect them and other members of the business as well. So all have a motivation that they'll get the profit, and doesn't matter how much they have invested, right? So it means if you invest more or less, you will get the same share of profit in case. So obviously you will be motivated in the same way as others are. So it will help the business to perform well. Now, disadvantages: poor management. I told you earlier, non-professionalism, because generally the members they are not professionals. who run the business. They do not have plenty of experience. In fact, they might have no experience at all. They just know how to do their own job. So that could cause a downfall of the business, and they may have a very short life. Then cannot sell shares to general public. Again, I told you, yes, they issue shares, but again, they cannot sell it through stock exchange. Again, so there is a restriction, just like private limited company. Then delay in decision making, and yes, that could be one of the disadvantage, especially when you want to take decision urgently, right? You want to take it quickly because there is emergency, but you are not able to take it early. Now my question is, why cooperative is not able to take decision quickly? What is the reason behind it? Hamza bin Farouk. Hamza? Yes, Hamza has a problem. I know that. Hamza has a major problem with the mic and he is not able to fix it. So we can ask Rida Yazani. Rida, any idea? Rida, please speak up.
I'm sorry, sir. I can't hear you properly.
Rida, can you explain me the last disadvantage which is there on your slide, on your screen rather? Can you see it?
Probably because they are not professionals, and that's why there's a slow decision making, and also because there are so many members, so you have to consult everyone before making a decision.
Very good, Rida. Great answer. Yes, because there are so many members, so that is why whenever a decision is taken, the consent of all the members are required. So obviously some members agree, some do not agree. So obviously then they have to change their decision. Okay. So that is why they take more time. So that is a disadvantage, especially when a quick decision is required. Okay, now we'll talk about an interesting type, that is what we call franchise. It's a very common word and teenagers, they know it very well. But I do not know, if you are not a business student, whether you have a clear idea about how it works and what is a franchise. So I doubt about that. So before I go about it, let me ask someone who was a business student in O levels, Faria Khan. Faria? Faria Khan, are you there?
Yes, sir. It's an agreement between two parties which involves a franchisor and a franchisee.
All
They both
right.
share the brand name and then also the trading methods, and then they start the business.
Okay, all right. So that's right. Now, whenever there is a term there, franchise, you need to be very, very careful while defining it. You can't say a franchise is a business. No, you will say it is an agreement or a contract. Remember, it is an agreement or a contract. Okay, now, so contract to do what? Okay, now, it is a contract where brand name, as Faria said, brand name is sold to a party called, obviously there are two parties, right? Called franchisee. Franchisee. Okay. So the party which buys the brand name is called the franchisee. Okay. And the party, okay, let me just finish this first. Where brand name is sold to a party called franchisee, which has the right to use the brand name, its logo, and marketing or trading methods. Okay. So now this is franchisee. The other party, the other party who is the original owner of the brand, owner of the brand or the idea, whatever it is, of the brand is called franchisor, right? Franchisor. So we understand now that there are basically two parties involved in an agreement. Okay, one we just discussed, that is franchisee, and the other party, that is franchisor. Now you know about them. Now both have different functions to perform in such type of business. So let me write it there. This is what franchise. Now, yes, there's an agreement. So it's not only about that franchisor sells a brand name and franchisee buys a brand name and they use it. No, I think there is some spelling mistake as well. Let me remove that. This is logo, not logi. So it's logo, right? And just a minute. There needs to be a gap. It's too close. Yeah, which has the right to use the brand name, its logo, and marketing methods. Now it's fine. Okay, all right. So it's not only about selling or buying the brand name. They have certain rights and responsibilities in that agreement. So what are actually the responsibilities of the franchise? Let me write there. So franchisee is actually the party or the person who is responsible to bring the capital into the business. It is his or her responsibility. Okay. Then obviously management again belongs to the franchisee. They are responsible to manage the business. And then again, profit or loss, again that will be enjoyed or suffered by the franchisee. Right? Similarly, if I talk about franchisor, so they have their certain area of responsibility as well, and they have certain rights as well. So if we franchisor, they are responsible to provide them the supplies. Now supplies, for example, if I talk about McDonald's is a franchise, so obviously the McDonald's outlet requires certain ingredients. For example, chicken, vegetables, okay, burger. So franchisor supplies it. Now there is a question. McDonald's actually belongs to USA, right? So if they have the branch there in Pakistan, how would they manage it? I mean, will they actually get the ingredients all the way from USA? Is it possible? Because if supplies is the responsibility of the franchisor. Ahmed Abdullah, what do you say?
Sir, Pakistan, suppose there will be a licensed manager or a recommended supplier for McDonald's in Pakistan, from which McDonald's, the international McDonald's brand, will supply to its franchisees in Pakistan.
Very good, Ahmed Abdullah, very good. So here means that obviously it is not physically possible to supply ingredients all the way from USA to Pakistan every now and then, right? So what do? They actually recommend a certain supplier because they need to control the quality as well. And you know that if something happens to quality and bad image is spread, who actually is affected the most, franchisor or franchisee? Shanjay, what do you say?
Franchisor.
Franchisor. Why? Because franchisor is the original owner of the brand. Franchisee will, at the maximum, have to close down that shop, that outlet. That's it. But what about the image throughout the world that franchisor is having? It will damage the image in other parts of the world as well. For example, I mean, it's a very dirty example, but I am giving it. For example, if lizard is found in a burger, maybe in any of the McDonald's outlet in Pakistan or in Lahore, obviously the video will go viral. Okay, and obviously the in other parts of the world the people might hesitate to buy from McDonald's. So that is why the damage will be huge. Okay, so that is why they make it sure that whenever they buy ingredients, either they supply it themselves or they will point out that this is your supplier and you have to buy it from there, because we have checked the quality of the supplier, and we have a system to check the quality throughout the year. So this is how they do it. So it means that now this is an advantage for the franchisee as well. How? Because the franchisee does not have to look for a good supplier, a supplier who can offer them a good quality ingredient, right? Because the supplier is there, you know that whenever I'll go there or I'll give the order, the supplier will deliver the ingredient. So supplies is the responsibility of the franchisor. Then again there is training. Again, training is provided by the franchisor. Again, for the same reason, there is a certain recipe, and if your staff is not familiar with, obviously the taste will be different, and then obviously it will have an effect on the image. That is the problem. That is why the franchisor trains all the workers of the franchisee, okay, free of cost, obviously, and then the workers become expert in managing it. Okay, if it's a fast food restaurant, obviously they get adept in making that recipe. So again, that is the responsibility of the franchisor, and in fact an advantage for franchisee as well. Then again, advertising. Now advertising, but when I say advertising, not all sorts of advertising. This can be national or international. That is actually done by the franchisor. If I talk about the local advertising, especially for the outlet, so you might have seen the advertisement of McDonald's outlet, but that would be one of the outlets, because all the outlets are not owned by one person. Nobody knows who is actually the owner of that outlet, right? Because we go there just to eat something because of that brand, right? So we do not know who is actually the owner. I mean, who is the franchisee, right? So they are the responsibility of the franchisee is to advertise at the local level. Okay, so they can advertisement at the local level. Okay, obviously to promote their outlet. But national and international, which is very expensive, that is done by the franchisor, again to maintain the same global image. Because if each franchisee will start doing it, obviously it may affect the image of the business as well, because the advertisement will not be unified, and maybe a mixed kind of an image will be conveyed to the people all over the world. So that is why a franchisor takes that responsibility. Okay, so now you understand their the responsibilities and their rights as well. That franchisee has the right to get the profit, okay, and the franchisor has the right to do what? To receive a license fee, because license is required. License fee, and it is actually a big amount depending on how famous the brand is. If the brand is not much famous, that fee might be minimal, right? But if the brand is very famous, so it might be huge. Like for example, it could be from 25 lakh to maybe 1 million or 10 million. Who knows? Depending on the popularity of the brand. Okay, so license fee is given by the franchisee, and after that, maybe an annual fee is also given, and that could be the license fee, right? Because it's not only the one-time expenditure they have to pay. Okay, okay. Sometimes what happens, the franchisor asks franchisee that, okay, what you can do, you can actually give us a small share of your sales every year, like for example 2% of the sales. So whatever you earn, okay, just give us 2% of it. So this can also be done. So because that would be easier for the businesses who actually just start their business, but maybe not good for those businesses who want to expand, right? Because in that case, obviously the amount will increase because it is in percentage. So it's up to them, but it is the right of the franchisor to receive the license fee or the annual fee or a certain percentage from the sales of the franchisee. So it is done that way. I hope this should be clear to everybody. Now, any problem? Momina Ali, are you there?
Yes, sir.
So Momina, this is the first time you are in my class, right? Are you a newcomer?
Yes.
All right. So Momina, this is actually we are covering chapter 2. So just stay there. I would like to talk to you at the end of the class.
Okay, sir.
All right. So anyone else? Usman, any problem regarding the term franchise? If you are not clear.
No, sir, no problem.
All right. Very good. So
सर
yes, Shanjay, go ahead.
फ्रेंचाइज और ब्रांड में फिर क्या सिर्फ ओनर का डिफरेंस आता है यानी कि
Listen,
ब्रांच और फ्रेंचाइज में एक फ्रेंचाइज
sorry.
ओनर होगा और एक ब्रांड ओनर होगा
Franchise is basically an agreement. So when I say I am going to buy a franchise, it means I will buy the brand name and I will have the authority to use the brand name as well. So I will become the franchisee in that case. Or you have a different question, Sanjay?
नहीं यानी फ्रेंचाइज को फिर ऐसे बेनिफिट क्या होता है ब्रांच ना होने का कोई खास कोई इस तरह का डिफरेंस क्या है इनमें
Yeah, okay, yes. The thing is because why the owner of a famous brand wants to sell franchise? That is the question. Okay. Obviously, if somebody wants to sell franchise, the other will buy it only then, right? Now, why? Because the expansion of the brand name throughout the world will be there without spending a single penny. You do not need to spend anything, but the brand name will be spread everywhere because the outlets will be throughout the world. That is the biggest advantage to the franchise, to the owner of the brand name, right? Because there is a difference. Owner of the outlet is called franchisee. Owner of the brand is called the franchisor. So franchisor gets the advantage I just talked about, whereas franchisee gets the biggest advantage, and that is reduced risk. When you start your business, there is always a risk, and what is that risk all about? Whether people will buy it or not. Okay. For example, you have a very good recipe, but people do not visit to buy your food items. There is a problem. Why? Because it's a new name. People are not familiar with. You know that these days we always buy brands which we are familiar with. We never buy those brands which are new to us or we have not heard of them, right? So that is why reduce risk of starting your business, because all the businesses which actually are new to the market, obviously there is always a fear that people may not buy, or maybe the other rival businesses, they may take the customers from them. But because now they are using a famous brand name, so nobody will bother about who is the owner of that outlet. They will say, okay, McDonald's, KFC is written, okay, fine, all right. So it doesn't matter who owns it. So that is why a reduced risk of starting a business, that is there. So customer base will always be there, and people will start going to that outlet. Either you go to visit Johor Town or Imam Alam Road or Defense, wherever you go, you never see whether who is the owner. You always see, okay, the same brand. So the same variety will be there, the same taste, quality, and standard will be there. That's it. Yes, Shanze.
ओके सर थैंक यू
All right. So it's good to see that you actually ask questions, because I always like those students who want to clear themselves, that if they are not clear. So there is no point feeling shy or feeling hesitant if you are not clear about it. I am always there to help you. All right. Now I think it's about the time, so I cannot finish that. But in the next class, I will involve all of you in a quiz. Okay, based on whatever we learn. Still, something is left as far as franchise is concerned. But as soon as we'll finish franchise in the next class, I will involve you in a quiz. So please come prepared. Thank you very much. That's all. I'll see you in the next class.